High above the galactic plane, where the stars burned like distant memories, the Helios research station spun in perfect synchronization with the dark matter anomaly it studied. First Director Nexer's crystalline form shimmered with increasing distress as she watched the containment readings spiral beyond acceptable parameters. "Report," she commanded, her neural translator converting her crystalline resonances into standard galactic common. "Critical failure in progress," Senior Researcher Vix responded, his crystalline structure pulsing with panic patterns. "The dark matter containment field is experiencing cascade failures across all sectors. Our models, they didn't predict this level of instability." The Helios station, pride of the Crystalline Consortium's scientific achievement, housed over 5,000 researchers from 30 different species. Its angular crystalline architecture, normally gleaming with internal light, now showed spreading patches of darkness where the power grid was failing. "Time until complete containment failure?" Nexer asked, already mobilizing emergency protocols through her neural link. 8 hours at current deterioration rates," Vix replied, "but the rate keeps accelerating. We're seeing exponential growth in the field instability." Nexer's form shifted through various shades of deep indigo, the crystalline equivalent of profound concern. The station's containment technology was supposed to be infallible, the culmination of 300 years of consortium research. Yet here they were, watching those same systems crumble before an anomaly they thought they understood. "Send the emergency signal," she ordered. "Priority 1 distress call to all nearby consortium vessels." The message bounced between quantum relay stations across the sector. As responses began filtering in, Communication Officer Zara's crystalline form dimmed noticeably. "First Director, the nearest consortium response fleet is 4 days away," Zara announced. "The 7th Scientific Squadron reports they could arrive in just under 5 days. Everything else is." She stopped suddenly, her crystals flickering with surprise. "Director, I'm detecting an approaching fleet from an unexpected vector. Classification: they're human vessels, Director. Mostly converted mining ships and emergency response craft. They're responding to our distress call. Humans, the galaxy's newest spacefaring species, barely 15 years into their membership in the consortium." Nexer had studied reports about them, a fascinating if primitive species that had achieved faster than light travel while still relying on fossil fuels for some of their planetary transportation. "They can't be serious," Vix interjected, his crystalline lattice expressing skepticism through chaotic light patterns. "Our containment systems are the most sophisticated in known space. What could they possibly?" He was interrupted by an incoming transmission. The holofield materialized, showing a human female with deep brown skin and close-cropped silver hair. She wore what appeared to be a heavily modified mining suit, its surface covered in practical tools and emergency equipment. "This is Admiral Maya Patil of the Earth Emergency Response Fleet," she said, her voice carrying the weight of command. "We've picked up your distress call and are inbound with a rescue fleet, requesting immediate situation brief and permission to assist." Nexer felt her crystalline structure cycle through patterns of uncertainty. The human ships were clearly civilian vessels, most appearing to be converted mining craft, and what her database identified as deep-sea salvage ships. But they were also the only help within range. "Admiral Patel," she began carefully, "while we appreciate your offer, this is a highly sophisticated research station dealing with extremely dangerous dark matter phenomena. Our containment systems are failing, and the technical expertise required." "Director," Patel interrupted, politely but firmly, "before I took this command, I spent 20 years leading deep space mining operations in the Kuiper Belt. We may not understand your quantum physics, but containing and redirecting dangerous energy flows, that's something humans have been doing since we first went underground for resources." The Admiral's image was replaced by a rapid series of visuals. Humans working in deep space mining operations, teams responding to fusion reactor breaches, and rescue operations in environments that seem to defy survival. Every ship in this fleet carries a crew of veteran disaster response specialists. Patel continued as her image reappeared. We might not understand your dark matter containment technology, but we understand crisis management and improvisation when high-tech solutions fail. Additional screens lit up showing more human vessels dropping out of FTL. These ships were massive, converted asteroid mining platforms modified for emergency response. Their hulls bore the scars of countless operations, telling stories of experience earned the hard way. Those are our heavy response units, Patel explained. The Prometheus and the Hyperion. They're equipped with modified mining containment fields originally designed for volatile gas pocket extraction. Not as elegant as your systems, but sometimes brute force and redundancy work better than elegance. Nexer found herself fascinated despite her concern. The human ships were ungainly, yes, but there was something about their robust construction that spoke of hard-won experience. They moved with precision that belied their awkward appearance, taking up formation around the station with practiced ease. Director. Vix's panic cut through her observations. Containment field in Sector 7 just collapsed. Cascade failure is accelerating. Nexer made her decision. Their sophisticated technology was failing them. Perhaps it was time to try something different. Something tested not in computer simulations, but in the harsh reality of humanity's expansion into space. Permission granted, Admiral Patel, she said, her crystalline form stabilizing into a pattern of resolution. Sending you our status data now. And thank you. Save the thanks for after we've gotten everyone to safety. Patel replied with what Nexer recognized as a human smile. Prometheus actual, out. As the transmission ended, Nexer watched the human fleet begin their rescue operations. Their ships might be ugly, their methods unorthodox, but there was something reassuring about their confident approach to the crisis. Sometimes, she reflected, experience counted for more than technological sophistication. The humans were about to teach the consortium a lesson about the value of getting your hands dirty in the name of saving lives. And perhaps, Nexer thought as she watched them work, that lesson was long overdue. The bridge of the Prometheus resembled an ancient Earth mining control room more than a spaceship command center. Holographic displays showed the dark matter containment fields failing across the research station, but Admiral Maya Patel's attention was fixed on a piece of equipment that would have looked more at home in a terrestrial mining operation, a modified pressure mapping array. Just like the Titan methane mines, she muttered, watching the readings climb. Lieutenant Kumar, what do your stress patterns show? Arun Kumar, a veteran of deep space mining operations, manipulated a three-dimensional display of the station. The dark matter breach is creating energy waves similar to what we saw during the Europa ice shelf incident. Different source, same effect. We've got compression zones building up around their containment barriers. The alien station's crystalline architecture sparkled against the void of space, its elegant spires now showing visible distortions as the dark matter anomaly strained against its failing containment. Around it, the human rescue fleet had taken up positions that would have seemed random to outside observers, but made perfect sense to anyone familiar with deep space mining operations. Hyperion. Status report, Patel called out. In position. Admiral, came the response from the massive converted mining vessel. Containment chambers are prepped. We've modified the pressure locks based on the Titan protocols. Patel allowed herself a grim smile. The aliens might not understand why humans had brought what they saw as primitive industrial equipment to a dark matter crisis, but sometimes the old solutions were the best ones. First Director Nexer, Patel addressed the alien leader whose holographic image showed crystalline patterns shifting through various shades of anxiety. We're ready to begin implementation of our containment strategy. However, I need you to do something that might seem counterintuitive. What do you require, Admiral? Shut down your remaining quantum containment fields. The request caused an immediate stir among the alien researchers visible in the background, their crystalline forms flickering with what Patel had learned to recognize as extreme agitation. Admiral. Senior researcher Vix interrupted, his crystalline structure practically strobing with distress. Those fields are the only thing holding the anomaly in check. If we deactivate them, those fields are failing because they're trying to impose perfect order on chaos, Paddle explained, pulling up a simulation on her display. We learned this lesson the hard way in deep space mining. Sometimes trying to contain pressure makes it worse. You have to work with it. Redirect it. She gestured to where the Hyperion and Prometheus had positioned themselves. These ships aren't just platforms. They're pressure relief valves. We've modified their containment chambers to create a controlled channel for the dark matter distortions, but your containment fields are fighting us, trying to maintain a perfect seal that's already failing. Look at these patterns, Kumar added, overlaying his data on the display. They're almost identical to what we saw during volatile gas pocket extractions in the Kuiper Belt. Different type of energy, same basic principles of flow dynamics. Flow dynamics. Nexer's crystalline form shifted to a color Patel hadn't seen before. But this is a dark matter anomaly, not a fluid. Energy is energy, Paddle replied with the confidence of someone who had faced down similar crises before. Whether it's superheated gas from a methane pocket or dark matter fluctuations from a spatial anomaly, it follows similar patterns when under pressure. We've been dealing with containing and redirecting dangerous energy flows since we first went underground on Earth. She brought up another display, showing the modified mining equipment they'd installed on the Prometheus and Hyperion. These are adapted from deep space mining operations. We use them to handle volatile gas pockets and asteroids. The principle is the same. Create a path of least resistance, then control that path. But our containment fields are based on advanced quantum mechanics, Vix protested, though Paddle noticed his agitation patterns were beginning to show hints of curiosity. Your mining equipment is crude by your standards, yes, Paddle interrupted. But it's been tested in real-world conditions for decades. Sometimes simple is better. Right now, your quantum fields are trying to maintain perfect containment of something that can't be perfectly contained. We're not trying to contain it. We're trying to control it. A sudden alarm cut through the discussion. Admiral, Kumar called out, dark matter surge in Sector 12. Their containment field is about to collapse. This is why we need to act now, Paddle insisted, turning back to Nexer. Director, I know what I'm asking goes against everything you believe about how to handle this situation. But right now, those containment fields aren't just failing. They're making things worse. Trust us, please. Nexer's crystalline form cycled through several patterns before stabilizing into what Patel had come to recognize as determination. Very well, Admiral. But I hope you understand. If you're wrong, you're not just risking the station. A catastrophic dark matter breach could tear a hole in space-time itself. I understand completely, Paddle replied, her voice steady. But if we're right, we might just teach the galaxy something new about handling chaos. Sometimes you have to stop fighting it and learn to dance with it instead. She turned to her crew, her voice carrying the weight of command. All ships, this is Admiral Patel. Begin Operation Pressure Valve. Hyperion, prep your primary containment chamber. Prometheus, stand by with secondary containment. Mining teams, prepare for dark matter flow control operations. As her orders echoed across the fleet, Patel watched the alien station shimmer in the starlight. They were about to attempt something never before tried in the history of space exploration. Applying primitive mining techniques to one of the most sophisticated problems in the galaxy. Either they were about to make history, or they were about to create a disaster of cosmic proportions. But then, she reflected, that's what humans did best, turning desperate gambles into revolutionary solutions. It was time to show the galaxy why humanity had survived every crisis their harsh world had thrown at them. The moment the Helios station's quantum containment fields went offline, reality itself seemed to shudder. Through the Prometheus's reinforced viewports, Admiral Patel watched as visible distortions rippled across space, Dark matter energies finally freed from their artificial constraints. Dark matter flow patterns establishing, Kumar reported, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls. It's moving exactly as predicted, following the path of least resistance toward the Hyperion's containment chamber. The massive converted mining vessel's containment systems, originally designed to handle volatile gas pockets in deep space operations, now faced their greatest test. Dark tendrils of energy, visible only through their distortion of background starlight, began streaming toward the ship's modified collection arrays. Hyperion, status, Patel demanded, watching the energy flows carefully. Primary containment at 60% capacity and holding, Captain James Rodriguez responded, his voice steady despite the unprecedented situation. The mining containment fields are adapting to the dark matter's properties. It's actually working, Admiral. On the main display, First Director Nexer's crystalline form shifted through patterns of amazement. Impossible, she whispered, her translator barely catching the subchannel frequencies. You're actually channeling pure dark matter through modified mining equipment. Nothing's impossible, Patel replied with a grim smile. Just improbable until someone figures out how to do it. Lieutenant Kumar, begin Phase 2. Kumar nodded, initiating the next stage of their desperate plan. The Prometheus began moving slowly into position, its own containment systems powering up to create a secondary channel for the dark matter flow. Think of it like a pressure relief system, Patel explained to the watching aliens. We're not trying to stop the flow. We're creating controlled paths for it to follow. Multiple channels, each one taking just enough of the load to keep things manageable. The theory was sound. They'd used similar techniques to handle volatile gas pockets in asteroid mining operations. But dark matter was different, more unpredictable. As if to prove this point, a sudden surge of energy caused the entire station to shudder. Admiral. Kumar's voice was tense. New energy patterns forming in Sector 9. The dark matter. It's not just flowing, it's reacting to something. Patel leaned forward, studying the readings. Director Nexar, what exactly were you studying in that sector? The alien leader's crystalline patterns showed clear hesitation. That information is classified under consortium protocols. Director, Patel interrupted firmly. Right now your protocols might get us all killed. We need to know what we're dealing with. There was a moment of tense silence before Nexar's form shifted to a pattern Patel hadn't seen before. Sector 9 housed our quantum entanglement experiments. We were attempting to use dark matter to enhance quantum communication capabilities. Quantum entanglement. Kumar's eyes widened. Admiral, if those experiments created any lasting quantum bonds, the dark matter could be resonating with them. Patel finished, her mind racing. This was why humans excelled in crisis situations, the ability to adapt plans on the fly when new information came to light. All ships, new protocol, she broadcast. Adjust containment frequencies to match quantum resonance patterns. Hyperion, begin cycling your containment field harmonics. We need to match the dark matter's quantum state, or we'll lose control. The next few minutes were tense as the human fleet adjusted their crude but effective technology to handle this new complication. The dark matter flows became more erratic, fighting against their attempted containment as they resonated with the quantum experiment's leftover effects. Admiral, Rodriguez called from the Hyperion, primary containment approaching critical levels. We need to bleed off some of this energy, or we'll lose the whole system. Patel studied the situation for a split second before making a decision that would have made any conventional physicist scream in horror. Prometheus moving to intercept position, she announced. Hyperion, prepare for containment transfer on my mark. We're going to pass this energy back and forth between our ships like a game of catch. That's insane. Vix's crystalline form practically exploded with agitation patterns. You can't treat dark matter like some kind of ball. Watch us, Patel replied, her confidence masking her own uncertainty. This was what humanity did best, trying the impossible because they didn't know enough to know it was impossible. Transfer protocols ready, Kumar reported. Hyperion in position. Admiral, this is either going to work brilliantly or tear a hole in space-time. Story of my career, Lieutenant, Patel replied with a grim smile. Execute transfer sequence. What followed was something never before seen in the history of space travel. 2 converted mining ships, using modified gas containment fields, began passing streams of dark matter energy between them in a carefully controlled pattern. Each transfer bled off a little more energy, like a pressure valve slowly releasing built-up steam. It's working, Kumar reported, his voice filled with disbelief. The quantum resonance is actually helping. Each transfer is neutralizing some of the dark matter's exotic properties. Energy levels are dropping to manageable levels. On the main display, Nexer and the other alien scientists watched in stunned silence as these primitive humans used mining equipment and basic physics principles to solve a problem their advanced quantum technology couldn't handle. Admiral, Nexer's voice carried a new tone of respect. I believe we may have significantly underestimated your species' capabilities. That happens a lot, Patel replied, still focused on the delicate operation. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, Director. It's our ability to look at an impossible problem and say, what if we try this? As the crisis began to stabilize, Patel allowed herself a moment to appreciate the irony. Here they were, using techniques developed for mining operations to handle one of the most exotic forms of matter in the universe. Sometimes the best solutions weren't the most advanced ones. They were the ones that had been tested in the real world, refined by trial and error, and proven in the face of disaster. As the Prometheus and Hyperion continued their delicate dance of dark matter transfer, Lieutenant Kumar noticed something odd in his readings. The energy patterns weren't just random fluctuations. There was a distinctly artificial signature to them. Admiral, he called out, keeping his voice low. You need to see this. Patil moved to his station, studying the complex data patterns scrolling across his screen. Her eyes narrowed as she recognized what she was seeing. After 20 years in deep space mining, she learned to trust her instincts. And right now, they were screaming that something wasn't right. These energy signatures, she murmured, they're too organized. Natural dark matter doesn't behave like this. My thoughts exactly, Kumar replied. It's almost like someone was trying to weaponize it, Patel finished, her expression grim. She glanced at the holographic image of First Director Nexer, noting how the aliens' crystalline patterns had become increasingly erratic as the crisis progressed, not just with fear or concern, but with guilt. Director, Patel said carefully, I think it's time you told us what was really happening on this station. The alien leader's crystalline structure dimmed noticeably. Admiral, I assure you, don't. Patel's voice was steel-wrapped in silk. These energy patterns are artificially modified. Someone was attempting to control dark matter at a fundamental level. The question is why. Before Nexer could respond, a new alarm blared through the Prometheus's bridge. Admiral, Rodriguez's voice cut through from the Hyperion. We're detecting a phase shift in the dark matter stream. Something's causing it to become more unstable. It's the quantum resonance, Kumar reported, his fingers flying across the controls. The patterns are changing, becoming more aggressive. Whatever they were doing here, it's fighting back. Patel made a split-second decision. All ships, Emergency Protocol Delta. Prepare for immediate containment breach. Director Nexer, either you tell us what we're really dealing with, or I'll be forced to implement scorched earth protocols. There was a moment of tense silence before Nexer's form shifted to a deep, resigned purple. The consortium. We weren't just studying dark matter. We were attempting to harness it, to create a new form of faster-than-light travel, yes, but also as a potential defensive weapon. A weapon? Patel's voice was incredulous. You were trying to weaponize one of the most unstable forms of matter in the universe. The galaxy is changing, Admiral, Nexer continued. New species are emerging, power structures are shifting. The consortium needed a deterrent. She was interrupted by another violent surge in the dark matter stream. The Hyperion's containment fields flared visibly as they struggled to maintain control. "Admiral," Kumar called out, "the quantum resonance is cascading. These patterns, they're not just weapon research. They were trying to create some kind of self-sustaining reaction." Patel's mind raced. Everything they'd done so far had been based on treating the dark matter like a natural phenomenon. But if it had been artificially modified, if it had been engineered to be self-perpetuating. "New plan," she announced, her voice carrying the weight of command. "Kumar, reconfigure our containment fields. If they wanted to make this stuff self-sustaining, we'll give it something to sustain." "What are you thinking, Admiral?" Rodriguez asked from the Hyperion. "We're going to create a feedback loop," Patel explained, already moving to modify the containment protocols. "If this dark matter was engineered to be self-perpetuating, we can use that against it. Create a closed system where it feeds on itself until it burns out." "That's impossible." Vix's crystalline form pulsed with alarm. "The energy requirements alone." "That's why we're going to use your own quantum entanglement experiments," Patel interrupted. "Director Nexar, I need access to your quantum research data. Now." The alien leader hesitated only briefly before transmitting the classified data. As Patel studied the information, a plan began to form. Dangerous, probably insane, but potentially their only option. "Here's what we're going to do," she announced. "The Prometheus and Hyperion will create a quantum-locked containment field between us. Kumar, modify our mining containment systems to match the frequency of their quantum experiments. We're going to force this weaponized dark matter to chase its own tail." What followed was a symphony of improvisation as human mining technology was married to alien quantum physics in ways neither species had ever imagined. The two massive ships moved into position, their modified containment fields creating a bridge of energy between them. "Quantum lock established," Kumar reported. "Beginning feedback loop. Now." The space between the ships lit up with impossible colors as the dark matter was forced into a closed system, feeding on its own engineered instabilities. It was like watching a snake eat its own tail, the energy patterns becoming more frantic as they cycled through the quantum-locked containment field. "Energy levels rising," Rodriguez reported from the Hyperion. "The dark matter is reacting exactly as predicted. It's consuming itself." Patel watched the readings carefully, monitoring the delicate balance between containment and catastrophe. They were walking a razor's edge. One mistake, and they'd create exactly the weapon the consortium had been trying to develop. "Director Nexar," she said, her eyes never leaving the displays, "I hope you understand that after this, there will need to be a serious discussion about transparency between our species." The alien leader's crystalline form showed patterns of both shame and respect. Perhaps that is long overdue, Admiral. We may have much to learn from humanity's approach to problem-solving." As they watched the artificially enhanced dark matter slowly burn itself out in their improvised containment system, Patel reflected on the irony of the situation. The consortium had sought to create a weapon of unprecedented power, only to be saved by the very species they'd been preparing to defend against. Sometimes, she mused, the best defense isn't a bigger weapon. It's knowing when to trust those you fear. 3 days after the crisis, the Prometheus's observation deck offered a stunning view of the Helios station's recovery operations. The station's crystalline architecture no longer showed signs of strain, though some spires still bore the scars of their brush with disaster. Admiral Patel stood at the viewport, watching as human and alien crews worked together to dismantle the remains of the dark matter research facilities. "The Consortium Defense Council is in an uproar," First Director Nexar said, her holographic form displaying patterns of exhaustion. "The revelation of our weapons research has caused quite the political storm." "As it should," Patel replied, turning to face the alien leader. "You were playing with forces that could have torn a hole in the fabric of reality." "Yes," Nexar agreed, her crystalline patterns shifting to show genuine remorse. Our fear of the unknown, of losing our position in the galaxy, led us down a dangerous path. The irony is that the very species we feared ended up saving us from our own hubris. A soft chime interrupted their conversation as Lieutenant Kumar entered the observation deck, carrying a data tablet. "Admiral, final analysis of the containment operation is complete. You'll want to see this." Patel reviewed the data, her expression growing more serious with each swipe across the screen. "The weaponization program was further along than we thought," she said finally. "According to these readings, you weren't just trying to harness dark matter. You were attempting to create a controlled tear in space-time itself. A deterrent of last resort," Nexer admitted, her form dimming with shame. "The ability to create localized ruptures in the fabric of space-time. We believed it would ensure the consortium's continued dominance. Instead, it nearly caused a catastrophe that could have spread across half the sector," Kumar pointed out. "Our simulations show that if the containment failure had progressed just a few hours longer, the rupture would have been irreversible." Patel set down the tablet, her voice carrying the weight of command even in this more diplomatic setting. "The Consortium Council needs to understand something, Director. Humanity didn't join the galactic community looking for a fight. We came seeking knowledge, cooperation, and the chance to build something greater than ourselves. Yet you maintain such an impressive emergency response fleet," Nexer observed. "Your ships, while primitive by our standards, are incredibly well-equipped for crisis intervention. Because we learned the hard way that the universe doesn't care about your level of technological advancement," Patel explained. "Natural disasters, technical failures, unexpected phenomena, they happen to everyone. The true measure of a civilization isn't in its ability to create the most advanced technology, but in its ability to handle things when that technology fails." A new alert sounded, and Kumar checked his tablet. "The Consortium Science Council's representatives have arrived, Admiral. They're requesting permission to begin their investigation." "Granted," Patel nodded, "but remind them that human observers will be present for all proceedings. That was part of our agreement." As Kumar left to coordinate with the arriving officials, Nexer's crystalline patterns showed curiosity. "You're not demanding we shut down all dark matter research?" "No," Patel replied, surprising the alien leader. "That would be hypocritical. Humans have had our own share of scientific projects that started with good intentions and veered into dangerous territory. What matters is how we handle those mistakes and what we learn from them." She turned back to the viewport, watching as a team of human engineers worked alongside alien technicians to install new safety systems. "What we're proposing instead is collaboration. Real, honest cooperation between our species. The Consortium has incredible theoretical knowledge and advanced technology. We have practical experience and a talent for improvisation. Together, we might find safe ways to unlock the potential of dark matter." "And if we refuse?" Nexer asked, though her pattern suggested she already knew the answer. "Then we release our findings about the weapons program to every spacefaring species in the galaxy," Patel stated matter-of-factly. "But I don't think it will come to that. I think this crisis has taught both our peoples something valuable about trust and cooperation." The observation deck fell silent as they watched the continuing recovery operations. A human mining ship was carefully maneuvering a new containment unit into place, its movements guided by the precise calculations of alien engineers. The site was a perfect metaphor for the future they were building, one where advanced theory and practical experience worked in harmony. "The Consortium will need to change," Nexer said finally, her patterns showing acceptance. "Our entire approach to galactic politics, to technological development. Everything will need to be reconsidered. Change isn't always comfortable," Patel acknowledged. "But it's better than the alternative. You tried to create a weapon to maintain your position in the galaxy. Instead, you discovered something far more powerful, the knowledge that strength doesn't always come from having the most advanced technology. It comes from being willing to trust." Nexer completed the thought, her crystalline form brightening. from being willing to learn from those we once considered beneath us. As if to emphasize her words, a cheer went up from the recovery teams as the new containment unit locked into place. Human ingenuity and alien technology, working together to build something better than either could have created alone. That's humanity's real gift to the galaxy, Paddle said softly. Not our technology, not our military might, but our reminder that the universe is too big and too complex for any one species to have all the answers. Sometimes the most advanced civilization in the galaxy needs help from the newcomers who still remember what it's like to solve problems with duct tape and determination. The legacy of the Helios crisis would echo through the galaxy for generations to come. Not as a story of potential disaster narrowly averted, but as a turning point in galactic history, the moment when the most advanced civilization in known space learned that true strength lies not in technological superiority, but in the willingness to learn from others, to adapt and to trust. As Paddle watched the continued cooperation between human and alien crews, she smiled. The galaxy was changing, yes, but perhaps for the better. Sometimes the best way to prevent a war wasn't through shows of force or technological superiority, but through the simple act of reaching out a hand, or in this case, a mining ship, when someone needed help.